The competition arena was packed with spectators. Minho had not realized how big of a deal this event was until he walked into the massive dome at the center of Helio 7. Thousands of beings from dozens of species filled the stands, cheering and placing bets on their favorite teams. Minho stood with the cadets in the staging area, trying not to throw up from nerves. He wore a simple advisor's badge that marked him as part of Hana's squad. The badge felt like it weighed 100 pounds. "Relax, little strategist," Nari said, putting a hand on his shoulder. The hand was gentle for a Valorian, but it still nearly drove Minho to his knees. "You look like you are about to pass out." "I might," Minho admitted. "There are a lot of people watching." "Good," Yuna said. She was checking her combat suit systems for the third time. "When we win, everyone will know about it." "When we win," Minho repeated. "You are very confident." "We have to be," Hana said. She stood with her squad, looking every bit the military leader. "Doubt is death in combat. We trained for 48 hours straight. We know the scenarios. We know our equipment. We know each other. Now we just have to execute." Sora was reviewing tactical data on her pad, her analytical mind already running through possibilities. "The first event is physical combat. One-on-one matches. Minho cannot help us with that, so we are on our own." "I can win my match," Nari said confidently. "Close combat is my specialty." "I will handle mine too," Yuna added. "The physical events are not our concern," Hana said. "We just need to not lose badly. The tactical events are where we will make our move." That is where Minho's knowledge gives us the advantage. An announcement boomed across the arena. "Teams, please report to your starting positions. The competition will begin in 5 minutes." Minho looked across the arena and saw the other teams assembling. Station security in their crisp uniforms. The military academy's top squad looking disciplined and ready. Corporate teams from various companies, all sponsored and well-equipped. And then he saw them. The Syndicate's team. They were easy to spot. Their armor was top of the line, probably custom-made and expensive. Their squad leader was a massive Valorian male who looked like he could tear apart a tank with his bare hands. And standing behind them, watching with cold eyes, were the 3 enforcers who had been hunting Minho. One of the enforcers saw Minho and smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator that had finally found its prey. "They know I am here," Minho said quietly. "Of course they know," Hana replied. "You are wearing an official badge in a public event, but they cannot touch you during the competition. It would violate station law." "After the competition, though," she did not need to finish the sentence. "Then we better win," Minho said. The first event was individual combat, just as Sora had predicted. Nari won her match easily, using techniques that combined Valorian strength with the defensive strategies Minho had taught her. Yuna won her match too, though it was closer. Hana lost to a more experienced opponent from the military academy's top squad, but she put up a good fight. After the physical events, the scores were displayed. The military academy was in first place. The Syndicate team was second. Hana's squad was 5th out of 8 teams. Not great, but not terrible either. "The next event is tactical scenario simulation," the announcer said. "Teams will face a series of strategic problems. Points are awarded for creativity, efficiency, and success. Advisors are allowed to participate." This was it. This was where Minho needed to perform. The scenario appeared on the screens. A small military outpost was under siege by a larger force. The defending team had limited resources and no reinforcements. Most teams immediately started calculating direct defense strategies, fortifying positions and planning last stands. Minho looked at the scenario for 30 seconds, then whispered to Hana, "We are not defending the outpost." "What?" Hana blinked. "But the scenario says we are under siege. It does not say we have to stay in the outpost. Look at the map. There is a canyon system 2 kilometers away. If we fake a retreat, make it look like we are running scared, we can lead the enemy force into the canyon. Then we collapse the canyon walls and trap them." Sora's eyes lit up. "The enemy is larger and stronger. But if they are trapped, size does not matter. We can pick them off from range." "It is risky," Hana said. "If the retreat does not look convincing, they will not follow." "Then make it convincing," Minho said. "Leave behind equipment, fake injuries, everything that makes them think they are winning. Make them overconfident." Hana made the decision in 2 seconds. "Do it. They executed the plan in the simulation. The judges watched as Hana's squad abandoned the outpost, leaving behind false evidence of panic and retreat. The enemy force, confident in their superior numbers, chased them into the canyon. The trap was sprung perfectly. The enemy was neutralized with minimal casualties. The arena went silent for a moment. Then the crowd erupted in cheers. It was not the standard approach. It was creative, unexpected, and completely effective. The Syndicate's team, meanwhile, had chosen a conventional defense strategy. They held the outpost but lost 3/4 of their force doing it. They scored lower than Hana's squad. After the second event, the scores shifted. Hana's squad had jumped to 3rd place. The Syndicate team had dropped to 4th. The military academy was still 1st, but only by a small margin. The 3rd event was equipment maintenance under pressure. Teams had to repair damaged gear while under simulated combat conditions. This was Minho's specialty. Your combat suits all have vulnerabilities, he told the cadets before the event started. Weak points in the power couplings. Redundant systems that can be bypassed. I showed you how to fix them fast using minimal tools. Remember what I taught you. When the event started, other teams struggled with the complex repairs. But Hana's squad moved with efficiency, using the shortcuts and improvised solutions that Minho had taught them. They finished their repairs in half the time of the next fastest team. The crowd was starting to take notice. The small squad with the human advisor was doing better than anyone had expected. After 3 events, Hana's squad was in 2nd place. The military academy was 1st. The Syndicate team had dropped to 5th, and their squad leader was visibly angry. The 4th event was strategic planning. Teams were given a complex military scenario and had to develop a complete operational plan. They had 30 minutes to create their strategy and present it to the judges. The scenario was brutal. A rescue mission deep in enemy territory with limited intelligence and overwhelming opposition. Most teams developed cautious plans focusing on stealth and minimal engagement. Minho took a different approach. We do not rescue the target, he told the cadets. We make the enemy bring the target to us. How? Sora asked. We spread false information that makes the enemy think the target is a traitor, make them doubt their own security. They will move the target to interrogate them. We intercept during the transfer when their guard is down. It was a plan based entirely on psychological warfare and deception. It was risky and relied on the enemy making specific decisions, but it was also brilliant in its simplicity. When the teams presented their plans to the judges, Hana's squad's approach was so different from everyone else's that the judges had to take extra time to evaluate it. The head judge, a veteran military officer from a neutral species, finally spoke. This plan is highly unconventional. It relies heavily on the enemy's psychological response rather than direct action. However, if executed correctly, it would result in minimal casualties and maximum efficiency. He paused. It is also exactly the kind of creative thinking we need more of in modern warfare. Full points. The arena exploded with noise. The underdog squad with the human advisor had just received a perfect score on the strategic planning event. The scores updated. Hana's squad was now in 1st place, just barely ahead of the military academy. The Syndicate team was in 6th place, and Minho could see their squad leader arguing with his advisor. The final event was capture the flag in the station's industrial sector. A massive 3-dimensional battlefield with multiple levels, obstacles, and hiding spots. Each team had a flag to defend and had to capture the flags of other teams while protecting their own. This is it, Hana said as they prepared for the final event. Everything we have worked for comes down to this. The Syndicate team will come after us specifically, Sora warned. They want revenge for their poor showing, and they want Minho. Let them come, Nari said, cracking her knuckles. We are ready. Minho had spent the last hour studying the industrial sector's layout. I have a plan, he said. But you are not going to like it. Why not? Yuna asked. Because I am going to be bait. The plan was simple but dangerous. Minho would position himself in an exposed location with the team's flag. He would make himself visible, making it obvious where the flag was. The Syndicate team would not be able to resist. They would send their entire force to capture the flag and grab Minho at the same time. But while the Syndicate team was focused on Minho, the 4 cadets would be infiltrating the Syndicate's own base and taking their flag. By the time the Syndicate realized what was happening, it would be too late. Absolutely not, Hana said immediately. It puts you in too much danger. It is the best tactical option, Minho argued. The syndicate wants me. Finally, after what felt like hours but was probably only 10 minutes, he heard the inspector leave. The moment the door closed, the duffel bag unzipped and 6 days had passed since Minho first hid in the laundry pile. He had settled into a strange routine with the cadets. He cooked their meals, helped them study tactics, fixed things around the apartment that had been broken for months, and spent most of his time trying to stay quiet and invisible whenever someone came to the door. It was not a terrible life, all things considered. The cadets had stopped treating him like an intruder and started treating him more like a strange pet that happened to be useful. Nari's nickname for him, Little Strategist, had stuck. Even Hana used it now, though she usually added "our" in front of it as if he belonged to their squad. He was helping Sora analyze a complex tactical scenario when the apartment door opened without warning. No knock, no announcement. It just slid open and a male Valorian in a military instructor's uniform walked in. Minho froze. Sora froze. The other 3 cadets, who had been in different parts of the apartment, all stopped what they were doing and snapped to attention. "Commander Jinwoo, sir," Hana said sharply. "We were not expecting—" "At ease, cadets," the commander said. His voice was deep and controlled. He was older than the cadets, with scars across his purple-tinted skin that spoke of actual combat experience. His eyes swept the room and landed immediately on Minho. For several long seconds, nobody moved. Minho felt like a small animal caught in the gaze of a predator. "Would someone like to explain," Commander Jinwoo said slowly, "why there is a human sitting at your tactical study table?" The cadets looked at each other. Minho could see them trying to figure out what to say, how to explain this situation in a way that would not get them all in serious trouble. Before any of them could speak, Minho stood up. If he was going to be caught, he might as well be honest about it. "My name is Minho, sir," he said. "I am hiding from the Valorian Syndicate. The cadets have been kind enough to give me shelter while I figure out what to do about my situation." Commander Jinwoo's expression did not change. "The Valorian Syndicate? The criminal organization?" "Yes, sir." "And you thought hiding in a military cadet's apartment was a good idea?" "It was the only idea I had at the time, sir." The commander walked closer to Minho, studying him the way someone might study an interesting insect. "I should report this immediately. Harboring a fugitive, even a human fugitive, is a serious violation of Academy regulations. All 4 of you could be expelled." "Sir, please," Hana started. Commander Jinwoo held up a hand for silence. He continued to stare at Minho. "What did you do to anger the syndicate?" Minho explained the cargo situation again. The setup, the weapons, the debt he could not pay. Commander Jinwoo listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable. When Minho finished, the commander was quiet for a moment. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. It was not a friendly smile, but it was not hostile either. It was the smile of someone who had just thought of something interesting. "The syndicate," he said quietly, "are a cancer on our species' reputation. They claim to uphold Valorian values while engaging in activities that shame us all. I have been looking for a way to undermine their operations without overstepping my authority as a military officer." He looked at Minho. "You may be exactly the opportunity I needed." "I do not understand." "Sir?" Minho said. Commander Jinwoo walked to the tactical table and studied the materials spread across it. "These are advanced strategy problems, well beyond what I would expect cadets to be studying at this level." He looked at the cadets. "Your work?" "Minho has been helping us, sir," Sora admitted. "He knows human tactical doctrine. He has been teaching us about asymmetric warfare, deception, and—" "I can see what he has been teaching you," the commander interrupted. He picked up one of their tactical solutions and read it. His eyebrows rose slightly. "This is actually quite good. Creative. Not at all the standard Valorian approach." He looked at Minho. "You developed this?" "The cadets did the actual work, sir," Minho said. "I just showed them different ways of thinking about the problems." "Interesting." Commander Jinwoo set down the paper and turned to face all of them. "In 2 days, the station is hosting the annual tactical competition. Teams from the military academy, the station security force, and various corporate security groups compete in strategic scenarios and combat simulations. It is a matter of pride for everyone involved." "We know about it, sir," Hana said. "Our squad was not selected to participate this year." "No," the commander agreed. "You were not selected because your test scores in conventional tactics were merely average. But looking at this work, I believe you may have developed skills that would make you competitive. Yuna's eyes widened. Sir, are you saying? I am saying that I have the authority to enter a team at my discretion, and I am considering entering your squad. He paused. With one condition. Everyone waited. Minho had a sinking feeling he knew what was coming. The human participates as part of your team, Commander Jinwoo said. Not as a competitor in the physical challenges, obviously. Humans are too fragile for that. But as your tactical advisor during the strategic portions of the competition, sir, that is highly irregular, Hana said. I am not even sure it is allowed. The rules state that teams can have one non-combatant advisor, the commander replied. Usually that role is filled by another officer or an AI assistant. But the rules do not specify species. A human advisor would be legal if unusual. Why would you want me to participate, sir? Minho asked carefully. The commander's smile returned, sharp and calculating. Because the syndicate is sponsoring one of the corporate security teams. They always do. It is a public relations exercise for them, showing off their power and influence. They spend enormous amounts of money on it, and they always win or place highly. He looked directly at Minho. I want you to help these cadets beat the syndicate's team, publicly, decisively, in front of the entire station. Minho understood now. It was not about the competition. It was about humiliating the syndicate, showing that even with all their resources and power, they could be defeated by a team that included a human they were hunting. And if we win, Minho asked, what happens to my debt? If you win, Commander Jinwoo said, I will use my connections to negotiate with the syndicate leadership. I have some leverage over them through military channels. I cannot make your debt disappear, but I can likely get it reduced to something manageable. More importantly, I can make it clear that you are under military protection. The syndicate will not dare touch you after that. It was a good offer, better than anything Minho had hoped for. But there was a catch. There was always a catch, and if we lose, he asked. If you lose, I report your presence here to station security as protocol requires. The cadets face disciplinary action for harboring you, and you face whatever the syndicate has planned for people who owe them money. Commander Jinwoo's expression was neutral, but you were going to face that eventually anyway. This way, at least you have a chance. Minho looked at the cadets. Hana's face was unreadable. Sora looked thoughtful, probably calculating odds and possibilities. Yuna seemed excited at the challenge. Nari just grinned at him, her usual confident smile. What do you think? Minho asked them. It is your squad. Your reputation. Your futures. I do not want you to risk everything for me. Hana stepped forward. We have been training together for 8 months. We trust each other, and over the past week you have taught us more about real tactical thinking than a semester of classes. She looked at her squad mates, then back at Minho. We are in. If you are, I am in, Yuna said immediately. Definitely in, Nari agreed. Sora nodded. The odds are not great, but they are better than doing nothing. I am in. Minho took a deep breath. 2 days to prepare for a competition against the best tactical teams on the station, including the syndicate's well-funded corporate security force. With his freedom, the cadets' careers, and possibly their lives on the line, it was insane. It was dangerous. It was probably doomed to fail, but it was also the only real chance he had. All right, he said. Let us do this. Commander Jinwoo nodded approvingly. Good. I will register your team. The competition begins in 48 hours. I suggest you use that time to prepare thoroughly. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. Oh, and cadets? Your tactical analysis has improved remarkably over the past week. Whatever you have been doing, keep doing it. Dismissed. After he left, the 5 of them stood in silence for a moment. Did that actually just happen? Yuna asked. I think so, Sora said. I think we just agreed to compete in the tactical competition with 2 days of preparation. Against teams that have been training for months, Nari added cheerfully. Including the syndicate's team which wants to kill our strategist. No pressure, though, Minho said weakly. Hana clapped her hands together, snapping everyone to attention. All right, squad. We have 48 hours to prepare for the most important competition of our lives. Minho, I need you to teach us everything you know about human tactics, everything. We are going to need every advantage we can get. And I need to fix your equipment, Minho said. his mind already racing. Your combat suits, your weapon systems, your communication gear. Everything needs to be perfect, and we need to eat. The first night was awkward. The cadets gave Minho a corner of the apartment where he could sleep, along with some spare blankets that were still too large for him. He felt like a child playing in adult clothes. Everything in the apartment was built for Valorians, which meant everything was too big, too tall, too heavy for a human. But he was alive and safe, which was more than he could say if the enforcers had found him, so he did not complain. The next morning started early, very early. Minho woke to the sound of the cadets doing their morning exercises. He watched from his corner as all four of them went through routines that would have broken a human body in half. They lifted weights that Minho could not even move. They did exercises that looked more like torture methods than fitness training. "Does he just sit there and watch us?" Yuna asked, glancing at Minho while doing one-armed push-ups. "I could make breakfast," Minho offered, "as a thank you for hiding me." The four cadets stopped their exercises and looked at him. "You can cook?" Sora asked. "I can cook human food. I do not know if you would like it, but I can try." "Our food dispenser has been broken for 3 days," Nari said. "We have been eating ration bars." Anything is better than ration bars. 20 minutes later, Minho had managed to create something edible using the limited ingredients in their kitchen. It was not fancy, just a simple rice dish with vegetables and protein, seasoned with spices he found in the back of their storage unit. But when he served it to the cadets, they ate it like they had never tasted real food before. "This is amazing," Hana said, sounding surprised. "How did you make the protein taste like this?" "It is called marinating. You soak it in spices and acids before cooking. Humans have been doing it for thousands of years. We just heat our food until it is cooked," Yuna said. "This is so much better." It was a small thing, but Minho noticed the atmosphere in the apartment shift slightly. He was not just an intruder anymore. He was someone useful. After breakfast, Hana brought out their study materials for the strategy exam. She spread maps and tactical scenarios across the table, and gestured for Minho to look at them. "These are the types of problems Instructor Daehyun gives us," she explained. "Asymmetric warfare scenarios. Situations where one side has more strength, more numbers, or better position. We are supposed to figure out how to win anyway." Minho studied the materials. He recognized the scenarios immediately. They were based on classic military problems from various species' histories. He could see what the instructor was trying to teach. "Your answers are all based on direct confrontation," Minho said after a few minutes. "You are looking for ways to fight harder, faster, stronger. That is the Valorian way, right?" "Of course," Hana said. "Victory through superior force and skill. But what if you cannot win through superior force? What if the enemy is stronger than you? Then you fight harder," Yuna said, as if it was obvious. Minho shook his head. "Humans learned a long time ago that fighting harder does not always work. Sometimes you need to fight smarter. Let me show you something." He pulled up one of the scenarios. It showed a small defending force trying to hold a position against a much larger attacking army. "Your solution was to fortify the position and fight to the last soldier," Minho said. "Very brave. Very honorable. Also very doomed. You would all die and the enemy would win anyway." "Then what is the right answer?" Sora asked. She leaned forward, her analytical mind clearly engaged. "The right answer is to not be where the enemy expects you to be. Humans call it guerrilla warfare. You make the enemy think you are in the fortress. You leave behind traps, automated defenses, anything that makes noise and looks like resistance. But your real force is outside, attacking their supply lines, sabotaging their equipment, making them paranoid and tired. You do not fight them head on. You bleed them slowly until they give up or make mistakes." The four cadets stared at him. "That seems like cheating," Nari said slowly. "It is called winning," Minho replied. "Humans have fought wars against enemies that were bigger, stronger, and more numerous than us. We survived by being creative, by using our environment, by making the enemy fight on our terms instead of theirs." Hana picked up another scenario. "What about this one? A small strike team needs to infiltrate an enemy stronghold." Minho studied it. "Your answer is to fight your way in through the front door." Very direct. Also very stupid. "Stupid?" Yuna bristled. "We calculated the optimal combat approach." "You calculated how to fight your way through 50 guards," Minho interrupted. "But did you calculate how to avoid fighting them at all? Look at the map. The stronghold has a waste disposal system. Not glamorous, but it is a way in that has maybe 1 or 2 guards instead of 50. Or better yet, you do not infiltrate at all. You wait for someone to come out and you grab them. Make them tell you what you need to know. Or you send in a distraction at the front door, while your real team goes in the back. There are dozens of ways to do this without fighting everyone. Sora's eyes lit up. Deception and misdirection. You make the enemy look one way while you act in another direction. Exactly, Minho said. Humans are not as strong as Valorians. We are not as tough as Kragans or as fast as Silthians. But we are creative. We think sideways. We find solutions that other species do not consider, because they are too focused on direct confrontation. For the next several hours, they worked through scenarios together. Minho showed them human tactics that the Valorian military doctrine did not cover. Ambush techniques, psychological warfare, using terrain to negate enemy advantages, feints and false retreats. Every trick that humans had developed over thousands of years of fighting wars against each other. The cadets absorbed it all like sponges. Sora especially seemed to understand it on a deep level, her tactical mind racing through possibilities. Even Yuna, who preferred direct combat, started to see the value in approaches that avoided fighting when possible. This changes everything, Hana said at one point. We have been thinking about warfare all wrong. Not wrong, Minho corrected. Just incomplete. Valorian tactics work great when you have superior force, but when you do not, you need other options. On the 3rd day, their communications unit broke down. The cadets were frustrated because they needed it to access the military academy's database for their studies. Minho asked if he could look at it. You know about communications technology? Sora asked skeptically. I was a trader, Minho said. I had to fix my own ship equipment because I could not afford to pay mechanics. Let me see what I can do. He opened the comm unit and found the problem immediately. A burnt-out connector and a loose power coupling. He did not have the right parts to fix it properly, but he did have creativity. Using spare parts from an old data pad and some wire from a broken lamp, he jury-rigged a solution that got the comm unit working again. How did you do that? Yuna asked, watching in amazement. Those parts should not even be compatible. They are not, Minho admitted. But if you bend the rules a little and do not care about it being pretty, you can make things work. Humans call it improvising. We are very good at it. That evening, there was a moment that made Minho feel like maybe he was not just a burden to these cadets. They were all sitting around the table eating another meal he had prepared, talking about tactics and strategy. Nari was laughing at one of Minho's stories about a human general who had defeated an alien army by faking a retreat so convincing that the enemy chased them right into a trap. You humans are sneaky, Nari said, but she was smiling. I like it. Little strategist fits you. I wish you would stop calling me that, Minho said, but he was smiling too. The moment was broken by a loud knock on the door. Everyone froze. Cadets, open up! A male voice called from outside. Random equipment inspection. Minho felt his blood turn to ice. Inspection meant someone would search the apartment. Someone would find him. Hana moved fast. She grabbed Minho and shoved him toward a large equipment duffel bag in the corner. Get in, she whispered urgently. You cannot be serious. Get in! Minho climbed into the duffel bag and curled up as small as he could. Yuna zipped it shut over him, leaving just enough space for air to get through. He heard footsteps as someone entered the apartment. Through the fabric of the bag, he heard a deep male voice. Good evening, cadets. Just a routine check to make sure your equipment is properly maintained. Of course, sir, Hana said smoothly. We keep everything in order. Minho held his breath as he heard the inspector walking around the apartment. Footsteps came close to his hiding spot. Very close. This bag seems heavy, the inspector said. What is in it? Training weights, sir, Yuna replied without missing a beat. We use them for strength conditioning. Show me. Minho felt hands reach for the zipper of the bag. This was it. He was about to be discovered. He closed his eyes and waited for the end. Then Hana spoke up. Sir, those weights are calibrated for our afternoon session tomorrow. If we unpack them now, we will have to recalibrate them all. May we show you our other equipment instead? There was a pause. Then the inspector said, Very well. Show me your weapon maintenance kits. The hands moved away from the bag. Minho slowly released the breath he had been holding. He stayed perfectly still while the inspection continued, not daring to move a muscle. Minho had almost fallen asleep in the pile of laundry when he heard the apartment door slide open. His eyes snapped open, though he could see nothing but fabric in every direction. He held his breath and tried to make himself as small as possible. "I cannot believe Instructor Daehyun made us run that course 3 extra times," a female voice said in the Valorian language. Minho understood it well enough. Living on a station with multiple species meant learning to speak several languages if you wanted to survive. "You were the one who talked back to him, Yuna," another voice replied, this one sounding more amused than tired. "What did you expect?" "I was just asking a tactical question." "You told him his strategy was outdated, because it was." 3 more voices joined in, all speaking at once. Minho tried to count them. 4 voices total. All female. All sounding exhausted but energetic at the same time. "These must be the cadets who lived here." "All right, everyone calm down," a new voice said, one that carried authority. "Yuna, next time keep your tactical observations to yourself until after class. Daehyun does not appreciate criticism even when you are right. Now I am going to shower first because I am the squad leader and I can." "That is abuse of power, Hana," one of the others protested, but she was laughing. "Yes, it is. Deal with it." Minho heard footsteps walking around the apartment. Someone was getting closer to his hiding spot. He pressed himself deeper into the laundry pile, trying to become invisible. "I really need to do laundry," one of the voices said. It sounded like it was right next to him. "This pile is getting ridiculous." "Do it tomorrow, Yuna. I am too tired to even think about cleaning clothes." "Yeah, tomorrow for sure." The footsteps moved away. Minho let out a tiny breath of relief. Maybe they would all go to sleep and he could sneak out during the night. He just needed to wait a little longer. Then disaster struck. One of the cadets walked back toward the laundry pile. Minho heard her footsteps and then felt the fabric shift around him. Something was wrong. She was not just walking past. "What is this weird lump?" the voice said. It was Yuna again. "Did someone stuff equipment in the laundry again?" "Sora, I told you to stop doing that." "I did not put anything there," another voice called from across the room. "Then what is—" Minho felt a powerful hand grab his collar. Before he could even think about reacting, he was yanked out of the laundry pile like a fish being pulled from water. He found himself dangling in the air, held up by a Valorian woman who looked just as shocked as he felt. For a moment, nobody moved. Minho hung there, suspended by his shirt, staring at 4 Valorian cadets who were all staring back at him with expressions of complete disbelief. The one holding him, Yuna, was tall and muscular even by Valorian standards. Her purple-tinted skin was covered in a light sheen of sweat from training. Her short dark hair was practical and military style. She wore a training outfit that showed off arms that looked like they could bend steel bars. "There is a human in our laundry," Yuna said slowly, as if saying it out loud would help her understand what was happening. "I can see that," the one called Hana replied. She was slightly taller than the others, with an air of command that made it clear she was the leader. Her eyes narrowed as she studied Minho. "The question is, why is there a human in our laundry?" "I can explain," Minho said quickly. His voice came out higher than he wanted. Being dangled in the air by someone who could probably crush his skull with one hand made it hard to sound confident. "Please do," Hana said. She crossed her arms and waited. The other 2 cadets moved closer. One was shorter than the others, with sharp, intelligent eyes that seemed to analyze everything. That must be Sora, the tactical genius. The other had scars on her arms and a fighter's stance. Nari, the close combat expert. All 4 of them looked at him like he was some kind of strange insect that had crawled into their home. "I am Minho," he started. "I live across the hall. Apartment 7A. We know who you are," Hana said. "We have seen you around. You are that human traitor, the one who always looks nervous." "Right now I have a very good reason to look nervous," Minho said. "Can she maybe put me down?" Hana nodded at Yuna, who lowered Minho to the floor but did not let go of his collar. Smart. He could not run if she was holding him. "Keep explaining," Hana said. Minho told them everything. The cargo job, the weapons, the debt, the Valorian syndicate. He told them about the enforcers chasing him, about seeing their door open, about hiding in the laundry pile out of desperation. He spoke fast, words tumbling over each other, knowing that his life might depend on whether they believed him or not. When he finished, the 4 cadets looked at each other. Something passed between them, some kind of silent communication that Minho could not read. "The Valorian Syndicate," Sora said quietly. "I have heard of them. They are bad news. Very bad. They are criminals, Nari added, her voice hard. They give our species a terrible name. They are also powerful, Hana said. If they are after him, he is in serious trouble. She looked at Minho. You should go to station security. Station security will not help, Minho said. The syndicate has connections. They probably have people working in security. If I go there, I will be handed right back to them. So you thought breaking into our apartment was a better plan? Huna asked, shaking him slightly. I did not break in. Your door was open. We really need to get that lock fixed, Sora muttered. Hana held up a hand for silence. She walked closer to Minho, studying him with those sharp eyes. Minho felt like he was being evaluated, measured, judged on some scale he did not understand. Here is what I do not understand, Hana said. Why should we help you? We do not know you. You invaded our home. You hid in our clothes like some kind of creep. Give me one good reason why we should not just throw you out right now. Minho searched his mind frantically for an answer. What could he possibly offer them? He had no money, no resources, no connections. He was just a human trader who had made bad choices and worse. Luck. Then he remembered something he had heard them talking about. When they entered the apartment, your instructor, Daehyun, Yu, said his strategies were outdated. Hana's expression did not change, but her eyes sharpened. So I know human military tactics. I studied them before I became a trader. I was going to join Earth's merchant marine, which has military training. I know strategies that Valorians do not use, different ways of thinking about combat and tactics. If you are studying strategy, maybe I could help you with that, in exchange for hiding me for a few days while I figure out what to do. It was a desperate offer, and Minho knew it. But it was all he had. The four cadets looked at each other again. This time the silence stretched longer. Minho could feel his heart pounding as he waited for their decision. Finally, Hana spoke. We have a strategy exam coming up in 2 weeks. Instructor Daehyun bases his tests on unconventional warfare scenarios. We have been struggling with some of the concepts. She paused. If you can actually help us with that, we will hide you. Temporarily. But you break our trust, you cause us any problems, and we throw you to the enforcers ourselves. Understood? Understood, Minho said, relief washing over him. Thank you. You will not regret this. I already regret it, Yuna said, but she let go of his collar. Nari stepped forward and looked down at Minho. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who had just thought of something funny. Welcome to the squad, little strategist, she said. Try not to get us all killed. Minho pressed his back against the cold metal wall of the corridor and tried to control his breathing. His heart hammered in his chest so hard he thought it might break through his ribs. Sweat dripped down his forehead despite the cool air circulating through the station's ventilation system. He could hear them. Heavy footsteps echoed through the hallway, getting closer with each passing second. The Valorians were coming for him, and they were not the kind to give second chances. Minho, we know you're here, little human. A deep voice boomed through the corridor. You owe the syndicate 50,000 credits. You really thought you could hide from us? Minho cursed under his breath. 3 weeks ago, everything had been fine. He was just a small-time trader on Helios 7, an orbital station that floated in neutral space between 3 different alien territories. He bought goods from one species and sold them to another. Nothing fancy, nothing illegal. Just enough to pay his rent and eat decent food once in a while. Then the cargo shipment happened. A Valorian merchant had hired him to transport what was supposed to be medical supplies to a colony on the edge of Valorian space. Minho had taken the job without asking too many questions. That was his first mistake. His second mistake was not checking the cargo himself. When station security scanned his ship, they found weapons hidden inside the medical containers. Illegal weapons. The kind that could start small wars. The merchant disappeared before Minho could even blink, leaving him holding the bag. Station security confiscated everything, including his ship. The Valorian syndicate, who had apparently financed the whole operation, decided that Minho owed them for the lost cargo 50,000 credits. It might as well have been 50 million. Minho barely had 500 credits to his name. The footsteps grew louder. Minho glanced down the corridor and saw 3 massive shadows turning the corner. Valorians were not small. The average Valorian stood nearly 7 feet tall, with muscles that looked like they were carved from stone. Their skin had a slight purple tint and their eyes glowed faintly in the dim light of the station corridors. These 3 were enforcers. Minho could tell by the way they walked, confident and unhurried. They knew he had nowhere to run. Minho's apartment was just 10 meters away, but that would be the first place they would check. He needed somewhere else to hide, and he needed it now. His eyes darted around frantically. Then he saw it. Across the corridor, the door to apartment 7B was slightly open. Just a crack, but enough to notice. Minho knew who lived there. 4 Valorian cadets, all female, all training to become military officers. He had seen them coming and going over the past few months, always in their training uniforms, always looking serious and focused. More importantly, he had noticed something else. About 2 weeks ago, he had been walking past their door when he heard one of them complaining about the lock mechanism being broken. She had said something about waiting for maintenance to fix it, but apparently maintenance had not gotten around to it yet. The enforcers were now 5 meters away from his apartment door. Minho made a decision that he knew was probably stupid, but it was the only option he had. He darted across the corridor and slipped through the crack in the door of apartment 7B. The apartment was empty. The cadets must be out on one of their training exercises. Minho had seen their schedules posted on the community board. They trained every evening from 6 to 10. He glanced at his watch. It was 7:30. He had time, but not much. He heard the enforcers break down his apartment door. The sound of splintering metal echoed through the walls. They would search his place, find nothing, and then start checking the neighboring apartments. He needed to hide, really hide. Minho looked around the apartment. It was surprisingly neat for a place where 4 military cadets lived. Training equipment was stacked in one corner, neatly organized. A large table in the center of the room had maps and tactical displays spread across it. Everything had its place except for one area. In the far corner, near what looked like a washing unit, there was an enormous pile of clothes. Workout gear, training uniforms, towels, and other fabric items were heaped together in a mountain that reached almost to Minho's chest. It looked like the cadets had been too busy with training to do their laundry. It was perfect. Minho dove into the pile of clothes, burrowing deep into the fabric. The smell hit him immediately. It was not bad exactly, but it was strong. A mixture of sweat, some kind of cleaning solution, and something else he could not identify. Something that smelled like cinnamon mixed with the ozone scent that sometimes came after electrical storms. Must be what Valorians naturally smelled like. He pushed himself as deep as he could go, pulling layers of fabric over himself until he was completely covered. The clothes were huge compared to human sizes. One training shirt could probably fit 3 of him inside it. He wrapped himself in the fabric and tried to stay absolutely still. Through the layers of clothes, he heard the enforcers enter the corridor outside. He heard them banging on doors, shouting questions at neighbors. Someone mentioned seeing him earlier in the day. Another voice said they had not seen him at all. Then he heard the worst sound possible, footsteps approaching the door of apartment 7B. "What about this one?" one of the enforcers asked. "That's where those military cadets live," another replied. "The ones training at the academy." "Check it anyway." Minho held his breath. The door opened wider. He could hear the enforcers stepping into the apartment, their heavy boots making the floor vibrate slightly. "See anyone?" the first enforcer asked. "No, place is empty. They must be at training. Check the other rooms." Minho squeezed his eyes shut. He felt like a child playing hide-and-seek, except if he was found, he would not just be it in a game. He would be dragged away to some Valorian debt prison where humans did not last very long. The footsteps came closer to his hiding spot. He could hear one of the enforcers breathing heavily just a few feet away from the laundry pile. "All this mess," the enforcer muttered. "Military discipline, right?" The footsteps moved away. Minho heard them check the other rooms, then finally walk back toward the door. He's not here. Must have gone to another level. The boss is not going to be happy. Then we better find him fast. Come on. The door closed. The footsteps faded away down the corridor. Minho waited, counting slowly to 100 before he even dared to breathe normally again. He had done it. He had actually managed to hide from them. But now he had a new problem. He was hiding in the apartment of 4 Valorian military cadets buried in their laundry. When they came back from training, they would find him. And he had no idea how they would react to discovering a strange human man hiding in their dirty clothes. Minho closed his eyes and tried not to think about what would happen next. For now, he was safe. For now, the enforcers were gone. He would worry about the cadets when they came back. He just hoped they had a sense of humor about unexpected guests.